Brett taught that if we just love hard enough, everything will work out. But that's a lie. Love isn't a magic fix. It's a mirror. It shows you your patterns, your wounds, back, and the parts of yourself you've ignored in the name of us. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep it together because it was never meant to fix what only growth can. And that realization, back, that's where real strength begins. Love can ignite the kind of fire that makes you believe anything is possible. It's that spark that keeps you awake at night. Back, the feeling that convinces you this connection is different, special, and worth everything. In the beginning, that spark feels like enough. It fuels passion, excitement, and endless possibility. You tell yourself that as long as there's love, you'll figure out the rest. But the truth is, love alone doesn't build the systems that keep two people or any partnership strong when emotions fade. What builds endurance isn't just how you feel, but what you do consistently when you don't feel like it. Because love may start the story, but structure, discipline, it back, and alignment are what keep it from falling apart halfway through. When the rush fades, what's left is the real test of whether you have a foundation or just chemistry. Many people enter relationships believing that love will solve everything, like it's some kind of universal glue that holds cracks together. They think love will fix incompatibility, poor communication, it back, or misaligned priorities. But love doesn't replace maturity, boundaries, or shared values. It doesn't automatically create emotional safety or trust. If anything, back. Love can sometimes blind us to the problems we need to face early on. We start excusing behavior that doesn't align with our needs because we believe love will find a way. The reality is, hit back, love doesn't find a way, people do. People who are willing to face uncomfortable truths, who take accountability, and who communicate even when it's hard. Without that effort, love becomes just another emotion, beautiful but fleeting. Discipline might sound like an odd word to use when talking about love, but it's one of the most important. Discipline in how we show up, how we communicate back, how we manage our emotions when things get tough. It's easy to be kind and patient when everything is going well, but the real strength of a relationship shows when stress, fatigue, or fear enter the picture. Back. That's when you see who's willing to keep showing up and who withdraws into comfort or ego. Love gives you the reason to try, but discipline gives you the ability to keep trying even when it's not convenient. Think of it like building muscle. You don't get stronger by doing one great workout. You grow by showing up repeatedly through discomfort and sticking to your routine even when motivation fades. I respect is another cornerstone that love alone can't replace. You can love someone deeply and still disrespect them in small ways by ignoring boundaries, dismissing their feelings, or failing to listen. Back. Respect isn't just about politeness, it's about valuing the other person's individuality and decisions even when they differ from yours. Without respect, love becomes controlling or possessive, disguised as passion. But respect says, I see you as your own person, not an extension of me. That's the difference between emotional attachment and emotional maturity. Respect is what makes a relationship safe enough for both people to grow rather than shrink to fit the other's expectations. It back, alignment often gets overlooked because it's less exciting to talk about than chemistry or attraction. But alignment is what determines whether two people are rowing in the same direction. You can love someone and still want entirely different lives. One person might crave stability while the other craves adventure. One might value emotional connection while the other prioritizes achievement. Love can make you overlook these differences temporarily, but over time, misalignment creates tension, resentment, and exhaustion. True alignment isn't about being identical. It's about having shared values, goals, back, and rhythms that allow both people to move forward without constantly pulling against each other. Communication is where love often meets its greatest challenge. We assume that if we love each other enough, back, we'll just understand one another intuitively. But that's not how it works. Love doesn't make you a mind reader. You still need to communicate clearly, honestly, and consistently. Back. You need to listen with curiosity instead of defensiveness. You need to be willing to have hard conversations, not just when something's wrong, but before it ever gets that far. Back. Communication is the mechanism that keeps love functional the way oil keeps an engine running smoothly. Without it, even the most passionate connection grinds to a halt. Back. Accountability is another layer of structure that love often overlooks. Many people think being loved means being accepted unconditionally, no matter what. But real love holds you accountable. It challenges you to grow, back to do better, to keep your promises. Accountability isn't punishment, it's partnership. It means both people take responsibility for their roles instead of blaming or deflecting. Back. When both partners hold themselves accountable, they build trust. Without accountability, love becomes lopsided. One person overfunctions while the other underfunctions, and resentment takes root. Back. Accountability keeps the relationship honest and balanced, even when it's uncomfortable. Another truth is that emotional connection doesn't replace practical effort. Relationships are a combination of heart and habit. You can't rely on emotional highs to carry you through daily realities, finances, routines, compromises, and problem solving. These are the structures that love sits on like beams under a roof. Without them, everything collapses under stress. People who thrive in relationships understand that maintenance is love in action. Showing up, planning, managing conflicts, these aren't chores. Back. They're the daily expressions of care that sustain love long after the excitement fades. Love is the emotion, work is the commitment. You need both. Back. The most painful part of realizing that love isn't enough is accepting that feelings can be real while still being insufficient. You can love someone and still not function well together. Back. You can want the best for them but not be the best with them. That doesn't invalidate the love. It just puts it in perspective. Love is a powerful force, but without structure it becomes chaotic. Back. It's like trying to build a house on passion alone. You'll have intensity but no stability. Understanding this truth doesn't make you cynical, it makes you wise. Back. It teaches you to build love on foundations that last, not on feelings that fluctuate. Ultimately, love is the spark that lights the fire, but structure is what keeps it burning through storms. If you want love to last, you can't just rely on how you feel. You have to rely on how you act. You have to build habits that protect connection, values that sustain respect, and systems that reinforce trust. Back. You can't keep expecting emotion to do the job of intention, because when the excitement fades, it's the daily choices, how you communicate, how you show up, back how you honor the other person, that determine whether the love you started with can truly endure. Without structure, love burns bright but briefly. With it, it becomes something unbreakable. Back. Chemistry is the lightning bolt. It's that instant connection, the spark that makes your stomach flip and your pulse quicken. It's intoxicating, magnetic, back and powerful enough to make you believe you've found the one. Chemistry makes conversations flow effortlessly, laughter come easily, and time disappear. It gives you that rush of adrenaline that makes the world seem sharper, brighter, and more alive. But chemistry, as powerful as it feels, is not the same as compatibility. Chemistry is emotional attraction. Compatibility is structural alignment. Chemistry makes you want to be together. Compatibility determines whether you can stay together without losing yourselves. Back, you can have incredible chemistry with someone and still be completely misaligned in the things that matter most. That's why so many people confuse emotional excitement with long-term potential and get heartbroken when it fades. Compatibility doesn't always show up in fireworks. Sometimes it looks like calm, consistency, back, and shared direction. It's not always dramatic or cinematic. It's steady, it's predictable, and it's rooted in understanding. While chemistry thrives on mystery and desire, back. Compatibility thrives on clarity and alignment. You might feel intense attraction for someone who challenges you emotionally, but that doesn't mean they're right for you. Compatibility is about shared values, back communication styles, and life goals. It's about whether your rhythms match, whether your priorities complement each other, and whether your visions for the future align. Chemistry creates connection, back. But compatibility sustains it through storms, silence, and everyday reality. It's what keeps the relationship functional when emotion fluctuates. When you confuse chemistry for compatibility, get back, you set yourself up for cycles of intense highs and crushing lows. The early stages feel euphoric. You can't get enough of each other. Everything feels effortless, and it seems like destiny brought you together. But as the novelty wears off, the cracks begin to show. Differences in ambition, communication, or emotional needs start to surface. Suddenly, the person who once felt like your mirror now feels like a stranger. Back. This isn't because the love wasn't real, it's because the structure wasn't aligned. Chemistry masks incompatibility until the emotional high fades, revealing gaps in understanding and maturity. Back. That's why relationships built on attraction alone often collapse under the weight of everyday reality. They lack the foundation to sustain the passion. Compatibility requires intention. It back. It's not something you feel, it's something you build. It's the daily effort to understand your partner, to communicate openly, to respect differences without trying to change each other. It's choosing someone whose values and goals resonate with your own, not just someone who makes your heart race. People who chase only chemistry often end up addicted to the feeling of intensity, confusing it for love, back, and overlooking the importance of stability. But love that lasts isn't always thrilling. It's consistent, it's patient, and it grows stronger through discipline. Compatibility isn't about avoiding conflict, back. It's about navigating it with maturity and empathy. When you have alignment, even disagreements lead to deeper connection, not disconnection. Many relationships fail not because love is absent, but because alignment is. Back. One partner wants growth while the other seeks comfort. One prioritizes emotional depth while the other values independence. These differences aren't inherently bad, but they require awareness and communication. Love can make you tolerate misalignment temporarily, but eventually your unmet needs become resentment. You start compromising on parts of yourself just to make it work, hoping love will fix what structure cannot. Back. True compatibility means you don't have to shrink, pretend, or constantly negotiate your identity to keep peace. It's about being seen, understood, back, and supported as your authentic self while offering the same in return. That's how love becomes sustainable instead of situational. The hardest truth is that you can deeply love someone and still not be compatible. Back. You can admire their mind, adore their heart, and still realize your lives are moving in different directions. That doesn't mean the love was wasted. It means it served its purpose in your growth. But staying in something purely out of emotion can destroy both people over time. Compatibility demands honesty, the kind that acknowledges when two good people simply don't fit. it back. It requires emotional maturity to let go of something beautiful that isn't sustainable. You stop chasing the feeling of intensity and start choosing alignment even when it's less thrilling. That's not giving up on love, it's evolving in how you understand it. Compatibility isn't about perfection, it's about complement. Two compatible people don't agree on everything, but they share a foundation strong enough to support disagreement. They respect each other's differences and create systems to manage conflict instead of avoiding it. Incompatible pairs, on the other hand, often mistake emotional chaos for passion. They think fighting hard means loving deeply, but in truth, it often means neither person feels safe enough to be calm. Compatibility creates a sense of ease, not boredom. It gives you peace, not constant anxiety. It allows both people to grow individually while still choosing each other collectively. That's what sustainable love looks like. Freedom inside commitment. Take it back. We live in a culture that glorifies chemistry because it looks good in movies and sounds poetic in songs. The quiet strength of compatibility rarely gets the same attention because it's not as dramatic, but it's the less glamorous parts. Shared effort, mutual respect, emotional safety that define real partnership. Chemistry can start a relationship, but compatibility determines whether it thrives or deteriorates. You can't build a stable structure on excitement alone. You need the discipline of alignment. The couples who make it work aren't always the most passionate. They're the most intentional. They replace emotional dependency with shared purpose, turning love into something resilient. Compatibility also extends beyond romance. It applies to friendships, business partnerships, and teams. Just like in love, you can feel strong chemistry with people who inspire or challenge you, but without shared direction, collaboration fails. In every relationship, alignment of purpose matters more than intensity of emotion. Whether personal or professional, chemistry gets things started, but compatibility keeps them stable. That's why emotional intelligence and self-awareness are so critical. They help you differentiate between who feels exciting and who feels aligned. Maturity means choosing partners who help you grow, not just feel alive. The more you evolve, the more you realize that peace is more valuable than passion without purpose. You stop chasing the rush of chemistry and start valuing the reliability of compatibility. Because while chemistry fades with familiarity, compatibility deepens with time. It's what allows love to mature from a feeling into a choice. That's when love becomes less about who excites you and more about who you can build with. The shift from chemistry to compatibility is the shift from fantasy to foundation. It's what transforms fleeting emotion into lasting partnership. And that's the kind of love that doesn't just survive, it endures. Self-respect is the foundation upon which every healthy relationship is built. Without it, even the strongest love eventually crumbles under the weight of imbalance and unmet needs. Many people enter relationships seeking validation, mistaking affection for approval and attention for worth. They hope that being loved will fix the parts of them they struggle to love themselves. But when your sense of value depends on someone else's perception, you hand them control over your happiness. Self-respect means maintaining your boundaries even when emotions run high. It means understanding that love should never require you to abandon your identity, integrity, or dreams. You can care deeply for someone and still say no when something violates your standards. Love without self-respect isn't devotion. It's self-erasure. When you respect yourself, communicate from a place of clarity, not desperation. You stop seeking reassurance through pleasing and start expressing your truth with confidence. Self-respect gives you the courage to have uncomfortable conversations instead of suppressing your needs for the sake of harmony. It allows you to show up authentically without fear of being too much or not enough. Relationships rooted in self-respect are built on honesty because both people trust themselves first. You're not afraid to disagree or assert boundaries because you know doing so doesn't make you unlovable. It makes you real. Love that grows in the presence of self-respect becomes stronger because it's chosen freely, not out of fear of loss. It's not about control, it's about mutual recognition of worth. A lack of self-respect often disguises itself as loyalty or sacrifice. You convince yourself that enduring neglect, inconsistency, or mistreatment is proof of unconditional love. You start minimizing your pain, rationalizing red flags, and lowering your expectations to keep the peace. You tell yourself that love means compromise, but you forget that compromise should never mean self-abandonment. Every time you silence your needs to protect someone else's comfort, you chip away at your sense of self. Over time, you lose the clarity of who you are and what you deserve. That's not love. It's fear wearing the mask of devotion. Real love doesn't require you to shrink. It encourages you to stand taller. Self-respect is the only thing that keeps love balanced, not submissive. Self-respect also defines how you respond to conflict. People without it often react emotionally, seeking validation or reassurance rather than resolution. They argue to win, not to understand because their self-worth feels threatened by disagreement. When you have self-respect, you don't need to prove your value through dominance or compliance. You can listen without feeling attacked and speak without tearing down. You hold yourself accountable when you're wrong, not because you're weak, but because you value growth over ego. That's the kind of strength that makes relationships thrive. It creates safety, not from avoiding tension, but from handling it with maturity. When both people operate from self-respect, love stops being a battlefield and becomes a space for collaboration. Another part of self-respect is emotional independence. It doesn't mean you don't need anyone back. It means you don't depend on someone else to regulate your sense of worth. You can love fully while still standing on your own emotional foundation. You recognize that your partner is a complement, not a completion. Get back. This independence prevents you from falling into patterns of codependency where your happiness rises and falls with another person's behavior. When you're grounded in self-respect, I trust myself to take it back. You can support someone without losing balance. You can give love without expecting it to fill your emptiness because you've already done the work to fill it yourself. That's what makes love empowering instead of consuming. Boundaries are the practical expression of self-respect. They're not walls to shut people out. They're gates that define what gets to come in. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're cold or unloving. It means you value your emotional space enough to protect it. Without boundaries, relationships become chaotic, fueled by resentment and misunderstanding. People who respect themselves know that saying no is an act of love, both for themselves and for others. It keeps the connection healthy by ensuring honesty and accountability. Boundaries help love breathe because they prevent one person from dominating or disappearing in the dynamic. They're how you ensure that love remains mutual instead of one-sided. Self-respect also influences the kind of partners you attract and choose. When you value yourself, you stop entertaining situations that don't align with your worth. You no longer chase people who offer inconsistency or conditional affection. You recognize that chemistry isn't enough if it costs your peace. People who lack self-respect often find themselves in repetitive cycles, drawn to relationships that mirror their internal wounds. But when you hold yourself to a higher standard, you start attracting partners who meet you there. You stop confusing intensity for intimacy and start seeking emotional reciprocity back. That's how self-respect transforms your love life. It elevates the kind of love you believe you deserve. Respecting yourself also means honoring your growth, even when it leads you away from people you love back. Sometimes the hardest act of self-respect is walking away from relationships that no longer align with your evolution. It's realizing that staying small for the sake of comfort is a betrayal of your potential. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that the connection has reached its limit. Self-respect gives you the strength to let go without bitterness because you trust that your worth isn't defined by who stays. It's defined by how truthfully you live. Love without growth becomes stagnation, and growth without self-respect becomes chaos. Balance requires both courage and clarity. Self-respect changes how you give and receive love. When you respect yourself, you give from abundance, not emptiness. You're not seeking to earn love, you're sharing it because it's already overflowing within you. This kind of giving isn't exhausting, it's fulfilling. You stop overextending yourself for people who don't reciprocate because your worth is not up for negotiation. You stop romanticizing struggle and start choosing relationships that align with your peace. Love becomes a reflection of your inner state rather than a replacement for your insecurities. When both people bring self-respect into the equation, love transforms from a transaction into a collaboration. Self-respect is not arrogance, it's alignment. It's knowing where you stand and refusing to bend so far that you break. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't chase approval because they've already given it to themselves. In relationships, it becomes the anchor that prevents you from drifting into emotional dependency or resentment. You stop asking, do they love me enough? And start asking back, do I love myself enough to choose what's right for me? That shift changes everything because when you respect yourself, you stop settling for relationships that require you to abandon your truth. And you start attracting love that honors it. Letting go is one of the hardest acts of love because it feels like giving up on something your heart still believes in. You spend so much time building memories, dreams, and meaning around someone that the thought of walking away feels like tearing out a part of yourself. We're taught that love means holding on, fighting harder, and never quitting. But sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is recognize that holding on is no longer helping either of you grow. Love that becomes heavy, draining, or one-sided stops being nurturing. It becomes survival. Letting go isn't an absence of love, it's the presence of wisdom. It's seeing that love doesn't always equal alignment and care, doesn't always equal compatibility. Sometimes the most loving act isn't to stay back, but to set both people free. Letting go requires emotional maturity because it asks you to separate attachment from alignment. Attachment clings to comfort and history, while alignment focuses on growth and truth. You can still care deeply about someone and admit that the relationship no longer serves who you're both becoming. This kind of clarity doesn't come from anger or resentment. It comes from awareness. You stop asking, how do I make this work? And start asking, is this still right for both of us? That shift in perspective transforms heartbreak into healing. Love isn't meant to be a prison that confines it back. It's meant to be a partnership that expands, and when it stops expanding, holding on becomes an act of fear, not love. Many people mistake letting go for failure because society glorifies endurance over alignment. We're told that if we truly love someone, we'll stick it out no matter what. But not every ending is a sign of weakness. Sometimes it's evidence of growth. Back. You can outgrow people you still love because love is not static, it evolves as you do. Staying in something that stunts your emotional, mental, or spiritual growth doesn't honor love. It diminishes it. True love wants what's best for both individuals, not just what feels comfortable. Sometimes that means walking away from a person you imagined forever with. It hurts, but it's also freeing because you stop betraying yourself for the sake of nostalgia. Letting go also teaches you the difference between love and attachment. Love is generous. It allows space, freedom, and individuality. Attachment is fearful. It clings, controls, and confines. When you love someone from a place of wholeness, you want them to be happy, even if that happiness doesn't include you. But when you love from a place of fear, it get back. You hold on because you're scared of being alone or losing a sense of identity. Learning to let go means learning to love without possession. Take it back. It means trusting that your worth doesn't diminish just because a relationship ends. You are not losing love. You are returning to yourself. The process of letting go isn't linear. It's a cycle of acceptance, resistance, and rediscovery. Some days you'll feel strong, ready to move forward. Other days you'll feel like you've taken 10 steps back, missing the person, the moments, and even the pain. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to live fully again without the weight of what's gone. Every emotion you feel during this process, sadness, anger, nostalgia, is part of the release. You can't heal what you refuse to feel. Letting go doesn't require you to erase the past. It requires you to integrate it into your growth. You carry the lessons, not the pain. That's how you turn endings into beginnings. Letting go also demands forgiveness, not necessarily for the other person, but for yourself. You must forgive yourself for staying too long, for ignoring red flags, for believing love could fix what communication and effort could not. Self-forgiveness is what transforms regret into wisdom. It allows you to look back without bitterness and forward without fear. When you hold on to resentment, you stay emotionally tied to what hurt you. But when you forgive, you reclaim your energy and redirect it toward your evolution. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing the pain. It means refusing to carry it into your future. It's an act of liberation disguised as compassion. Growth after letting go often feels lonely at first because you're rebuilding identity outside of attachment. The silence can feel uncomfortable, but that's where rediscovery begins. You start reconnecting with parts of yourself you lost while trying to make the relationship work. You remember your interests, passions, and independence. You realize that peace feels unfamiliar only because chaos felt normal for so long. Slowly, the absence of that person transforms from emptiness into space for healing, creativity, and new possibilities. That's the beauty of letting go. What once felt like an ending becomes the beginning of becoming whole again. There's also power in realizing that letting go doesn't erase the love. It just changes its form. You can still honor what was beautiful about the relationship without needing it to continue. Love doesn't always need permanence to be meaningful. Some connections are meant to teach you, awaken you, or prepare you for what's next. When you accept that, you stop seeing endings as losses and start seeing them as transitions. You can hold gratitude for what the relationship gave you while acknowledging that it's no longer where you belong. That balance between appreciation and release is where emotional freedom lives. People often assume that the hardest part of letting go is losing the other person, but the real challenge is facing the version of yourself that existed with them. You're not just mourning their absence. You're grieving the identity you built around that connection. That's why healing feels so personal. It's not just about moving on. It's about redefining who you are without that attachment. The truth is, you're not losing yourself. You're returning to a version of you that can stand on its own. You learn that love doesn't have to mean possession, and endings don't have to mean defeat. You begin to find strength in solitude and clarity in stillness. Letting go, then, is not the end of love. It's the evolution of it. It's love maturing beyond need, beyond control, beyond fear. It's understanding that you can love someone deeply and still choose peace over passion, clarity over confusion, and growth over comfort. The act of release is a declaration of self-worth. It says, I love myself enough to stop fighting for something that no longer fits. Because sometimes real love is not about holding tighter, but about loosening your grip. It's about trusting that what's meant for you will align effortlessly, without force or pain. And when you finally learn to let go with grace, you realize that endings aren't the opposite of love. They're proof that you've loved deeply enough to set yourself free.